At the bustling hub of Northwestern University's campus in Evanston, Illinois, there is a haven of tranquility.
This is a place where people can find a moment of quiet and reflection.
It is a landmark, a monumental work of art.
It's absolutely the most beautiful building on campus.
A place for glorious music.
It would be hard to name all of the great music that has been presented, but it's truly a space in which music lives beautifully.
And a place that supports the diverse spiritual journeys of Northwestern students and faculty.
The chapel has really played a key role in being the hub for us to come together on campus.
A lot of those students are just coming, seeking opportunities to meet other students, seeking the question of spirituality.
There is a great yearning for spirituality. We're fortunate at Northwestern that we have this as part of the institution, that this is built in to help support students as they ask big questions and pursue their worthy dreams.
With money donated by businessman and philanthropist Foster McGaw and his wife Mary, the construction of the Alice Millar Chapel and Religious Center was completed in 1963. At the dedication that year, McGaw envisioned a house of prayer where the soul could seek solitude.
The chapel itself and the stained glass, and it just has such a, just a bigger than yourself feeling in there, and it is powerful.
The most striking physical feature of Millar Chapel is the stained glass, designed by artist Benoit Gilsol. And while stained glass is traditionally found in churches, the Millar windows are anything but traditional.
These are very abstract, strange, and interesting. There are images scattered throughout all these huge stained glass windows that really pay dividends if you go hunting. And so they're meant to be a little bit challenging, a little bit mysterious, so that the work has to be done by the viewer to figure out the puzzle or the mystery. I think that's a great metaphor for the spiritual life. It's also a great metaphor for the university, where the purpose is to grapple with issues, to find patterns of meaning, and to then figure out what that all means for our lives. So the building itself can inspire a spiritual quest if we allow it to speak to us. And it has spoken to generations of people over the last 50 years.
The 10 side windows each represent an endeavor of the university: humanities, the arts, discovery, and so on. The great chancel window at the front of the chapel depicts Christian biblical theology, creation, redemption, and triumph. A descending white dove is the bearer of God's love to the earth. The Millar windows are sermons in stained glass. They invite contemplation and meditation, Foster McGaw's original intent. But today, the chapel and religious center serve a much broader purpose.
It's certainly much more than just a place for solace or to be alone with your thoughts. Millar Chapel is a center for many events on campus, including musical events, worship services, study gathering, lectures. Millar Chapel has been a place for a wide range of religious expression beyond the original intention as a kind of Christian chapel. And so we have Muslims who pray in this building every Friday. We have Hindu students who gather for their services. There's a couple of Buddhist study groups and meditation groups that meet. What our goal is to provide a safe place where people can think about big questions that really matter and things that really affect their lives.
In a bit, we'll explore the vibrant interfaith diversity of Millar Chapel. But you may be wondering about the name of the place. Alice Millar McGaw was Foster McGaw's mother, an English lady. Alice was a musician of note who once played a piano recital for Queen Victoria. Fittingly, Alice Millar's birthday is celebrated each year in February.
That has really blossomed into a major musical event on campus that involves students in our NU Symphony Orchestra, in the chapel choir, various soloists. It's a wonderful event.
Music plays a major role in the spiritual life of Millar Chapel. Coming up, we'll learn about the foundation of musical expression here, the chapel choir. Stephen Altop is the director of music at Alice Millar Chapel. He also teaches conducting and keyboarding at Northwestern's Beanan School of Music. One of the school's major ensembles is the Millar Chapel Choir.
Okay, sing that last chord, beautifully in tune. Not bad. This particular ensemble performs the most of any ensemble at Northwestern University because from the very first week that they meet, they're going to be performing. This choir meets usually on a Thursday, right after classes have started, and we get to know each other a bit, we rehearse, and then we perform for people 3 days later in a Sunday service.
I was a little apprehensive at first about the early morning Sundays because we have rehearsal 9:45, 9:50 every Sunday morning, and then we sing in the service at Alice Millar. But I've gotten used to waking up early, and I actually look forward to Sunday morning services. As a conductor, Dr. Altop is fantastic to work with. He's so knowledgeable, he's so expressive, he really gets you to feel the music.
The students want to be challenged. They're not interested in being a part of something that's not really challenging and working for a level of excellence. What I try to do with the choir is to set very high standards and to constantly be moving towards those standards, but through a process that is encouraging and fun and challenging. Let's do that one more time. Make sure the fifth is perfect, the octave is perfect, the third is just. One more time. Long ago, I decided that the best environment for music making was a positive one.
There's a high standard, but I think one of the best elements of his direction is that there's not pressure beyond just enjoying what we're doing and what we're singing.
He's very good at being musically rigorous and demanding without being authoritarian or condescending in any way.
I'm always so happy when somebody says that the choir not only sang beautifully with good diction, good intonation and line and stylistically informed performance, but more than anything that they sang with spirit and joy, from the bottom of their heart, because that's the most direct connection between one person sharing music with another.
The chapel choir spends a lot of time rehearsing and performing. Once a week, they get together just to relax.
On Thursdays, we have this coffee clutch. The students will jam into the office and just talk and have snacks and have a time between their busy life that they can just chill out and hang out together. And that's, to me, a spiritual connection too. They need that.
It's such a warm, supportive environment, and the whole group kind of feels like there's this extra, maybe spiritual aspect to what does it mean to be part of a larger community.
The chapel choir is part of a larger musical community, which collaborates throughout the school year to perform at Millar Chapel. Included in that mix are the Philharmonia, an orchestra composed mostly of non-music majors who want to continue their musical experience in college, and the Millar Brass Ensemble, which includes professional players, some of whom are Northwestern alums. Both of these groups perform with the chapel choir in the Festival of Lessons and Carols at the start of the Christmas season. The Symphony Orchestra, the premier orchestral ensemble at Northwestern, collaborates with the chapel choir during the Alice Millar birthday concert in February. The final event of the musical year for the chapel choir is the spring concert. In preparation for the concert, Stephen Altop is conducting auditions for the soloists.
It was an exciting concert because it was kind of the culmination of not just working on those pieces, but working together for the whole year. There's definitely a sense of we've grown together as one sound.
The spring concert for me was the most rewarding performance experience I've had with the chapel choir, and the sound was so cohesive and all of the different voice parts were blending really well, and we really reached this final stage where we can just make music together, and so it was a really great high note to end on for our last big performance of the year.
The chapel choir, like many of the activities at the Millar Chapel and Religious Center, is an interfaith enterprise.
The choir represents a group of very different religious backgrounds, and that I think is also a strength of the chaplains and Dr. Altop as well. It's very accepting of everyone's beliefs.
It's very welcoming. There are people from all different backgrounds and faiths, and I think everyone does get something out of it no matter what religious affiliation they might be.
He decided to marry Jodha for several reasons, and historians differ on what those reasons were.
Coming up, we'll explore the rich diversity in the life of the Alice Millar Chapel and Religious Center.
We're called to heal the sick, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty.
One of the things that I enjoy most actually is leading worship in the University Chapel. We gather every Sunday of the academic year at 11 o'clock, and services are designed to be in the broad Protestant tradition, and the services are open to anyone, regardless of religious tradition or denomination.
Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice.
I love working in an interfaith setting, but I'm also a Christian minister, and so this allows me to preach what I hope are relevant sermons addressing the issues that students are facing right now, and to meet them in that space where we pray and sing and take communion together and gather around this tradition that has nourished me in my life.
Rooted in the Christian tradition, the Millar Chapel and Religious Center has become a focal point of interfaith activities on campus.
We had begun doing interfaith programming on campus in about 1995 or 96. When September 11th happened, we said, okay, how do we support one another? How do we learn from this experience? How do we present a positive idea of religion to the larger community?
The response to the 9/11 crisis became known as the Interfaith Initiative.
Our interfaith group that meets on Monday nights is really kind of mirroring the religious diversity that is part of the fabric of American society right now. We're hoping that the experiences that they're having here at Northwestern will give them the skills and the desire to have really good and healthy relationships with people across religious boundaries, so that when the Northwestern students are out being leaders in the world, they are going to take that with them and help create the kind of civic and religious society that we need as we face the huge challenges that we're facing globally right now.
This is a group of students who are excited about learning about each other. Northwestern Interfaith Initiative meets here every week, and they come together to discuss various topics of interest, and many of those topics are around religious awareness and competency, and how have they been able to engage with their religious tradition on campus. Has that really allowed them to know themselves better and know their faith better?
So I'm Tahira or Tahira or Sister T or Big T, whatever you want to call me.
Tahira Ahmad is only the second Muslim woman chaplain at an American university. In addition to her interfaith work, she advises the Muslim Cultural Students Association.
The Muslim Cultural Students Association on campus is quite strong. The MCSA takes a lot of pride and energy in their work, and they've really become an organic part of the greater community.
Sister Tahira played a huge role in having a religious figure that was there. It's good to have someone that's older than you, who's more experienced than you, from a life perspective and also from a religious perspective. And so she was a chaplain in the whole sense of the word.
The MCSA is one of over 40 different student religious groups on the Northwestern campus, sanctioned by the Office of the University Chaplain.
We have every major religion and secular humanism represented here at Northwestern in organized student groups to create the kind of richly diverse religious community that will feed the students at Northwestern, that will respect the academic mission of our institution, and that will be a resource to them.
Kayla Vietz is active in the Lutheran campus ministry. She supports the Interfaith Initiative.
It's a really good way to learn about other faiths, and in turn, by discussing with other people about their faiths, to learn more about our own faiths.
The chapel has really played a key role in being the hub for us to come together on campus. It is exciting to see that there are a lot of students who are interested in faith in general. From my own faith experience, it's really helpful for me to understand other people's beliefs and how bridging gaps on campus is really important.
Jazzy is the past president and current fellowship coordinator for House on the Rock, the Black student ministry on campus.
Instead of necessarily going out to parties on the weekends, we have Bible studies on Friday night. But at the same time, it is fun. I think my Christian community is definitely one of the best parts about my experience at Northwestern. It's pretty much a family.
One of the major interfaith activities at Northwestern is the annual service and candlelight vigil honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King was a pastor, a Christian minister, but he was also an amazing interfaith figure. Dr. King reached out across religious boundaries, so we want to really bring to the fore the religious roots of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement.
Millar Chapel has an informal affiliation with 6 other religious centers on campus, where many Northwestern students participate and worship. Coming up, it may or may not be interfaith, but to casual observers, there's one activity for which Millar Chapel is best known. On almost every weekend from the spring through the fall, passers-by are likely to see a wedding party celebrating outside Millar Chapel.
It's a very popular place for weddings. Some years it's 70 or 80 in a year. One of our restrictions is that either the bride or the groom has to have some affiliation with Northwestern, and that's defined fairly broadly. A lot of the folks who have their weddings here are alums who met when they were students on campus, and they want to return to this university that they love.
I first joined the Alice Millar Chapel choir when I was a sophomore. I spent a lot of time in the chapel, in the choir loft, and so I really loved this chapel. I knew Dr. Altop really well, and I didn't want anybody else to be the organist at our wedding.
Because Northwestern is the only private university in the Big Ten Conference, Millar Chapel is the only university chapel, and Tim Stevens and his associates are the only staff of chaplains in the Big Ten.
We're available to members of the university community who are seeking some sort of guidance or counsel. Students come, but also faculty members, staff members. Often what people are seeking is someone who will listen to them and maybe provide a spiritual dimension.
Chaplain Stevens is similar to this building in that he always welcomes people with open arms.
I love having conversations with students about what's most important in their lives. The possibilities are so broad and so great, and the potential for what can happen in their lives and what they can do in the world is huge.
It's just really great to know that there's someone who we can turn to when we have a problem, when we need help with anything.
I've actually had more non-Muslim students go through my office than Muslim students. Regardless of where we all come from, we're all human and we all face some of the same challenges.
The chaplains reach out to students by holding fireside chats in the residence halls, minus the fireplace.
Or the person who's officiating the marriage will refer to this.
Tim Stevens and his staff also help students in times of crisis.
We're there to respond to crisis situations, and we try to provide that kind of support when people need it the most.
Religion is something for people. The goal of the religion, which would be spreading happiness, spreading peace, these goals are greater than myself. And Northwestern is really a great place for people who are seeking a form of spirituality, and it's an institution that respects that and respects the fact that spirituality is a huge part of everybody's life.
Let us pray.
The chapel is a place where truth and beauty meet together regularly in lots of different ways.
Our ultimate goal is to be a big house where a lot of people can come and find something that's meaningful to them.